Is Blake Lively really asking for $1 billion? We have Ron here to break it all down. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. Always happy when we get Ron Zambrano back on the show. How you doing, Ron?
I'm doing great, Andy. I'm glad.
Thank you for always fitting us in. New filings happen, and when you're available, I'm like, yes, let's talk, because we always have questions for you. Now, it's an interesting one. We're going to talk about the damages. We're going to talk about the big win. I want to get your thoughts. It seems like a big win. I want to get your thoughts on if that's a mess up on Blake's part, as well as a new one just dropped as well, where at this point it feels like Blake is really harassing people, myself included, and I want to get your thoughts on how sort of this works with in-camera reviews and things that she says she hasn't gotten. A lot of interesting little insights we're going to get to, guys. But first, I want to go back to this disclosure list. So we talked about this the other day, but this is an updated list. This was filed this past September, September 30th. Just of note, I'm still not on it. I'm still not on it, which is odd given how much she's trying desperately to broaden the scope and get my information, which I have a hearing on Friday. Stay tuned, guys. But I'm still not on it. This is after she allegedly assumed I was part of the deal. But what's interesting is in this, Ron, we get a little bit more insight on what she expects damages wise. And I found we were all reading this kind of in shock. And I wanted to get someone who actually trials big cases against celebrities and stuff. Like, what's realistic here? So she's asking here lost earnings, not less than 56 million to expert testimony, lost profits approximately 71 million, subject to expert testimony, pain and suffering, pain and humiliation, 250,000 to 400,000, reputational harm, an amount of approximately 34 million. I mean, you add it all up, and like as you were telling me before, might as well just be $1 billion. It's like, just seems like she's asking for the moon. I mean, is this typical and is this ridiculous? What are your thoughts?
I think the answer is all of the above. It is typical and it is ridiculous. So with regards to just the stakes and the coverage and how far in both parties really are, Andy, in just this case, they're so invested. There's really no way back, or any way back, or any resolution is so unlikely that both parties have to go all in. And this is Blake going all in, but it's all subject to expert testimony, and that's important. Because she can't go in there and go, Blake Lively can competently tell you assuming the jury agrees with her that her reputation has been harmed, she can't really talk about how to quantify that. She needs an expert who knows about celebrities that make money or future deals or whatever, and they have to be competent in order to be like, okay, I am an expert in this field. This is my qualifications, and let me tell you how much Blake Lively is hurt.
But also proof of like losing jobs, right?
So that's it. So there has to be evidence of that. There has to be evidence of loss of jobs. I know she's lost promotions. I know she had her own brands that have kind of tanked. And how much the jury has to decide how much of that is Baldoni or this lawsuit versus Blake being Blake, which is part of the problem with her brand, is that early on in this case, people not people, but the kind of rumblings on social media was like, Blake herself is not the most approachable person, unlike her husband, right? There's a foil, unfortunately, for her. So I think Ryan Reynolds is a great asset for her, but at the same time, it's hard to be compared to Ryan Reynolds because whatever he is in secret, as an external persona, he is a very magnetic person, and she is just not that.
So what's interesting to me is, okay, so this is typical to ask for the moon, to ask for the $1 billion. What's realistic though? Because what's frustrating to me as we look at these numbers, like, yeah, Justin's case got thrown out, but it doesn't mean Blake was right. And Blake put this out in the world first. Like, so will the judge be able to like take all this into account to really realize, well, was his filing of the lawsuit really what caused all these damages, or was it what's in dispute in the other case? And then if that case is sort of thrown out as well, does that help Justin not have to be on the hook for these legal fees? Because the legal fees alone, I've been told they could be 25 million just to what she's spent already, right? So it's adding all up. It is close to $1 billion. It feels like hundreds of millions of dollars. How realistic is it that Justin might be on the hook for such a large number?
I don't think it is very realistic. Their case has gotten so much media attention that I think it's going to be very hard to find a jury who knows nothing about anything about either one of them. They might not know the details, but they'll know something. And to answer your question, all of it has to do with argument. So you don't talk about money until the end. No one talks about what they're asking for until the end, which is the closing argument. And Friedman, I'm assuming who's going to be doing closing argument for Baldoni and the Wayfarer parties, I believe will have the ammo, let's call it, to say, like, she's asking for tens of millions of dollars. Let me show you why my clients are not responsible for whatever you think she's losing, which is speculative as best. I mean, the idea to quantify reputational harm, I don't even know what that means. Like, what does that mean? So it's one of those things.
Well, not to interrupt, but it's like, it doesn't even seem like she had it. She's gotten more movies. She's out there doing red carpets. She's at the SNL premiere. I mean, it sure doesn't look like she's hurting, whereas Justin's done nothing since.
Right. And again, this is something that will be brought up at argument at the very, very end. Like, this is the last thing the jury's going to hear or see before they go into the jury room deliberate. So this is and again, there is a chance that some of these things will either be reduced, these things being these numbers or categories, will be taken away, because a good trial attorney will read the room and sense what the jury feels like. Are they incensed? Or are they not incensed? Are we losing him or not losing him? Because if you ask for too much, you just by asking for too much, you lose, right? So there's a spectrum of, like, there's a sweet spot where you lose, and then after that you lose credibility. And if you lose credibility, you're done. And that's part of the lawyering in the middle of what I think it's a live sport when it's trial, because you got to read the room. You're like, what's the jury feeling? Are they on our side or not? And if you don't sense that, you can't ask for this type of money. They're going to be like, you are crazy. I was barely about to believe you anyway. Now I don't want to give you anything because you're asking for so much, and that is the risk.
Two questions. Well, I mean, just to be clear, because this is, I guess, because of the anti-slap, because Justin's case got thrown out. Yeah. She's allowed to come back and ask for now the costs. But a lot of these damages are also going to be part of the next case. So it almost feels like she is asking for too much in this case. She should have saved a lot of these numbers for the actual case. No, I mean, like, what is she going to get in the next one if she wins, if she makes all this money here? So how does that make sense?
You're absolutely right. She won't be able to double dip. Lyman will not allow her to double dip. Friedman, if they get hit at any level of these categories, they will not be. Friedman will argue, and Lyman will agree. You can't get this twice, right? You already got this over here. It's going to be impossible for you to undo this mess. So I think I agree with you. But the problem is this: the reason she's doing it here is because she may not have that much confidence in the other case.
Interesting. And she's got to also, I guess, put it on the record of, this is what it costs, Your Honor. So whether you got it to me here and you gave me a little bit, I need to get the rest, which I asked for back then, I guess, is sort of just being safe. Is there any possibility where in this case, if we actually go to hearing and they both play out their cases, is there any version where Friedman and Justin are allowed to go, like, actually, jury, they owe my client money now that this is all getting thrown out? Can that happen, or do they have to win for that damage? Like, what is the reality of Justin maybe getting Blake to pay for some of it?
That's a great question. So the defendant cannot, if they're prevailing defendants, so if Justin wins and Lively loses, they don't ask that of the jury. They ask costs to the judge, going like, we're the prevailing party, judge. These are the costs that we expended that were reasonably necessary to win. Make her pay it. Now, whether that costs are different than fees. So costs are like deposition fees and expert fees, maybe attorney fees, which is Lyman's time and all the hundreds of millions of dollars of attorney's fees that have been expended at this point. That's a little different to get as a prevailing defendant. Depends if there are some other conditions that have been met and triggered, which we could spend another 30 minutes talking about. So I don't want to speculate on that because I haven't seen it. But costs, yes, they can go to the judge, not the jury. Go to the judge. Hey, judge, we're one. Give us. They'll probably ask for $1 million of their own costs. But they can ask that, but they wouldn't ask the jury that.
So whoever loses that case, if they go to hearing, because that's part of the reason I would imagine there's settlements, right? Because they might say, we're eating our costs, let's just move on, yada, yada, yada. But if they actually go to hearing, whoever loses is potentially on the hook to pay the other person's fees.
Yeah, but whoever loses, Andy, they're going to appeal. That's not going to be in the end. Can you imagine if Lively loses, that's the end of it? She's going to appeal. She's going to go to the second. I mean, she has to, right? Like they're so bought in. They're so dug in to this crazy hole. it's just there's no one like, okay, I lost, how much, it's just not. I don't think it's going to happen. Do you believe it's going to happen, that they're just
Well,
like,
no, I mean,
they'll
I feel like that at
absolutely
some
appeal.
point it's just going to get thrown out. I don't think either of them are going to ultimately win, but I don't think Blake's going to win. And I think Justin's has already been damaged, right? Is what sucks for Justin. But yeah, even to go to appeal on what? Like, I just feel like she's just going to keep straight. I guess just try to slightly pretend like she's still fighting it, like it just never ends. So
Yeah, at that point it's a PR thing. Like, what's at the caliber that they're dealing with, if they lose, it's the jury's fault. If they lose the appeal, it's the court's fault, but they kept fighting. If they stop fighting, that is where you can be blamed as a party. Like, wait a minute, that means you capitulated, like they tried to do with Justin in the last video we did, right? Like, oh, you missed the deadline, that must mean something. No, if you don't even appeal, whether you think you have a chance or not, you can shift the blame not on you as failing to do something, but on the system not working for you.
Interesting. All right. Well, before we, a couple more points I just want to get to before we lose you. This Signal chat's back. So today this was dropped, and basically, Blake's again asking for more Signal chats. And Wayfair responded basically saying, like, Your Honor, the stuff she's asking for, you've already said we don't have to give, is to give you the short version, guys. And then some of them is like voice memo notes that we've already given you transcriptions of. And the rest is all communication between the parties talking about their legal strategy. So it is protected. At what point, because I'm facing this too, to be honest, Ron, with her and my hearing, like, at what point does it become harassment in the eyes of the judge of like, oh my God, enough. You've asked, we've said no. Like, could Lively eventually finally face that, you think, here?
The judge will never say that this is harassment. It'll say, they'll use other words. I mean, there's always a chance, but I doubt a federal judge with a lifetime appointment would use that. They just don't use that kind of language. But I believe the judge will go, you're coming back twice now. I've already told you first that this is not something you're allowed to have. You should have listened to my first order. What the judge could do, besides denying it again, based on a prior ruling and reasoning, is threaten sanctions. Like, if you ask for this again, I'm going to sanction you. Like, move on. That's possible. But they'll never. But the attorneys for Baldoni and the Wayfair parties should say this. Now this is coming to the level of harassment. They should already know not to ask for these things. They're just trying to go into things that are protected under a well-established law that has existed for hundreds of years.
The other question I want to ask about is this sort of, it seems like a win and a mess up on Blake's team. From the optics recently, it does feel like Justin's team has quieted down, almost out of fear based on the sanctions that were already sort of threatened before. And we have not heard a lot from Friedman or Justin's camp. And Blake's team, seemingly, someone's out there pushing this idea that Justin lost already and Blake's winning, right? But now the actual news story is that Blake's, one of the cases against Jed Wallace, has been tossed. The judge finally, after the second amendment, Senate amendment, everything, they're like, judge was still like, no, this guy's in Texas. This is where this belongs. You have not shown that it should be in New York. It's over. Go to Texas if you want to pursue it. Otherwise, Jed Wallace is out. What kind of repercussions is that going to have, you think, going on? Because Jed Wallace is the supposed, social media mastermind behind it. And do you think Lively is going to want to then pursue this all again in Texas?
Well, the problem from a technical standpoint for Lively is she cannot fast track what she would have gotten on the Wallace stuff for purposes of her current case, because she needs that, right, for the smear campaign allegations in her complaint, which is the basis for most of her damages. So now she's stuck because she cannot really put the two together. So like the Abel one is put together in New York. Now the Jed Wallace one is its own entity, and it may prevent her Lively from getting evidence that she believes exists, supposedly that's non-privileged, for purposes of her underlying lawsuit, which is really right now the only thing she can really hook on from legal theory in her main lawsuit is the smear campaign, right? That's why she's coming hard after you.
But could she have already gotten that stuff from Jed? Because Jed's sort of thing was still hung on. The judge didn't. Does the judge stop the disclosure phase, or would Jed potentially have to be on the hook to provide a lot of the communication already? And if Jed did give that communication to Blake, does that suddenly now get thrown out? Or is that now suddenly, because she snuck it in before, she's allowed to use it? Do you get it seems sneaky, but how does that go if Jed already provided disclosure stuff?
What it goes in the sense that he's no longer a party right now. So if he's not a party, the pressure's different with Jed. right? If he's not, like, I'm not a party to a lawsuit, I'm not a defendant in this case. Like, it takes it takes the pressure from having to do stuff and the coercion, because that's what this is, right? You're trying to coerce people into complying to give you what they want. They're trying to bully people to give them what they want, which is what you're going through, Andy. This is a very typical tactic that are done by celebrities who hire attorneys to just go. It's an all-out assault. And because they have the unlimited funds to pay 2, 3, 4, 5 attorneys and their 2, 3, 4, 5 assistants to just spend days and weeks at a time to just start just throwing things at people. And this is part of those things. Now that she can't do it associated in the same jurisdiction in New York, she has to go to Texas. Not that she can't do it, but it's a home ground of Jed Wallace, and it's the home ground of his folks. And now she has to pivot over there, which in itself is a bit of a win. Now, in the long run, can she still harass him in Texas? Sure. But it's gonna slow things down. And Lyman is not slowing things down for her, because they're like, well, I need stuff from Jed Wallace. Please wait up. And Lyman's like, I don't care. You how long have you known about Jed Wallace now? That's what he's gonna say. How long have you known about this person? I'm not gonna wait for that. You should. This is on you.
So overall, who do you think's now winning in the case of things you're seeing? Where do your scales tip at this point? I always like checking in with you on that.
I think Lively is, for purposes of extracting information and asking for information, she is trying to do whatever she can to get the last grasp of things that she probably is not entitled to. But there's always a chance that a judge may flip it. So for purposes of the attorney-client privilege stuff, if the judge says, I will look at it in camera, there's a chance the judge will go, there's some of this stuff can be revealed. So these are like, if you get past one door and you bitch enough, and you might get through past the second door. So this is a very, very typical tactic that's done. If you just keep pushing, there's always a chance. Now she says no, but she's still working at it. And she's on the offense, which could be good. With regards to the Jed Wallace thing, she lost. It's an L for her.
There it is, 1L. There it is, guys. I know a lot of you want to hear that, but we will keep Ron back. We will keep you up to date. Thank you, as always, for fitting us in. Stay tuned. If you got questions for Ron, put them down there. We'll try to grab them next time we have him here. In the meanwhile, make sure you're subscribed, guys. A lot of you guys aren't getting notified, so make sure you're subscribed. Hit that bell like I just showed you. Smash the bell. Leave a comment so you get the engagement. Help us get back in the algorithm. Every once in a while, we got to do it. Ron, always a pleasure. Thank you, sir. All you guys watching, stay tuned. We got a lot more, and we'll be live later today around 4 p.m., so join us then.